Great. Um, Thank you for everybody being here tonight, whereby platform or on your YouTube, to spend the next hour together to meditate. So I guess no matter where you are from or which culture you grew up or which language do you speak, I guess you must be very curious about the mind. Everyone knows how the mind works. To know why everyone is so bothered by thoughts. Some might want to know what is meditation. But if you ask me what is meditation, I couldn't tell you in one or two sentences. Even I can, but you would definitely misunderstand it. The very process of understanding meditation is meditation itself. Which means that everybody has their own path to understand how the mind works. Which means that there's no authority in any way to guide you to understand how the mind works. You have to look within all by yourself, by what you have experienced in your life to understand how the mind works. For this very, very vague, very unclear domain, that's people's exploration in the past 2,000 years, from Buddhism to Taoism. It's all about this. And also, beyond Taoism and Buddhism, there are also other religions also want to know this. Why? Why people are so curious about the mind? Because everyone is suffering. Suffering in their own way. So people develop or design or invent all kinds of religions, all kinds of ideas, hopefully to help people get out of the sufferings. But we all know that it failed. It totally failed, right? Because the world is always want to establish an outside authority to guide people through the challenges. But the very simple fact is that everybody has their own reality. Everybody perceives the world differently. How can we have a common authority to guide people through this? That's why we turn inward to look at the mind at this moment. That's why today we have such an occasion that you and me are sitting together to look at the mind. It's not by my words to tell you what is. It is by your observation to tell yourself what is on the mind. So to meditate, actually, is to observe your mental activities without any judgment, without any interpretation, only at this moment. In other words, you have to be very, very honest with yourself, which can be difficult for many people actually. Because we have used to all kinds of cunning stories, cunning interpretations. It might be very challenging for people to see things as they are. Look at the hatred, the jealousy, the desire we have had. We always want to give a story to cover it up, to make it more important. Oh yeah, this is my mission, this is my ideal, or whatever. So to meditate is to see the petty mind directly. To see who we are truly. The very understanding of this part is meditation. So there could be many different forms of meditation, like people like doing yoga, or people are doing breath meditation, or you name it. There are so many things, so many different forms. But form is form, which means that you can have your form to meditate. To be honest, we can just describe meditation in this way. How to meditate is how to live a life. Each moment of your life can be a meditation, is it? Your sufferings, your mental challenges can be your teacher to reveal what is the mind. And that process is also meditation. So today, we don't discuss any concrete forms of meditation because there are so many people are doing that. If you take all kinds of forms of meditation, you will be confused as well. Of course, today we still do meditation, like 10 minutes breath meditation. But the purpose is to understand the life, understand how the mind works, understand how the trouble is formed. So before we start today's session, I suggest we keep silent for 3 minutes. During these 3 minutes, you can focus on the breath to take a deep breath or just do breath meditation. Or you can simply reflect how many moments of the day you were not present. So after these 3 minutes silence, let's come back to discussion. how many moments are you really present for the whole day? How many moments are you not bothered by thoughts? So today's topic is why you are stressed. You means everyone, right? Almost everyone on this planet. Everyone is being stressed out in their own way. But still, it's a stress. So when people feel mentally challenged, they always want to go to see a shrink. Hopefully, someone else can help him or her to get out of the mental traps or the mental quagmire. But the difficulty is that you know yourself best. You can observe your mental activities without any languages, without any other communications. But if you want me to know what you are thinking, you have to tell me via languages. Have you ever noticed the limitations of the language? Probably for your work, the language can be sufficient to describe a lot of things. But for your mental activities, have you ever noticed how limited the language is in describing your mind? So, what you describe about your mind can come across differently to me. Because even we use the same words, same sentences, people understand it differently. Then how can you rely on a language to let other people understand you? Have you noticed that? How much misunderstanding in your life arises from the language? You are misunderstood, or you misunderstand others merely by language. So, without realizing the limitation of language, this kind of a psychological reliance on it creates an illusion, which just simply traps us and puts us into trouble, and we don't know why. Until we realize that we identify ourselves with words. I guess some of you know that languages is only part of the brain in terms of functionality, right? We map our all kinds of mental status into some symbols. And across different people, we reach agreement that these symbols can represent something. So this kind of common agreement leads to the language. But this kind of mapping from mental status to symbols is kind of a reduction. It's a kind of reduction mapping, right? So we can say language is a kind of a compromised communication. If you observe it really, honestly, you may find that most of the time, our communication is miscommunication. The true communication is very rare. Do you notice it? No matter you are talking with your colleague, your friends, we have to be communicating superficially. Because as long as we go deep, the misunderstanding just pop up. So, in this way, you can observe your mind without languages. And without languages, that's the only way to observe the mind. So if you are stressed out, it is up to you to observe your mind, to see the facts. Then there's a solution waiting for you. If you ask me what kind of advice I can give you, then you regard me as an authority. The very action to regard me as authority will misguide you. Have you ever noticed that almost everybody is seeking something? Sometimes they just seek an authority for some certainty. Everybody wants to be told, what should I do to be peace? What should I do to be calm? What should I do to be free from stress? Why do we have such a strong habit, wanting to be told? Isn't it because education? From the culture, from the society, no matter where you are from the day first of education, we have already the psychological authority, a teacher, whatever, to tell you what you should do. After these years education or the immersement in your environment culture, we have formed such a strong habit of wanting to be told. And this habit has extended into the psychology, the psyche. So that's why there's only a very tiny portion of the population on this planet are truly doing meditation, which means turns inward to understand how the mind works. Because most people are still struggling in the habit of wanting to be told. If we could just observe the mind to see how it works, and then your observance just give you a natural certainty, which is kind of certainty you don't need to seek from an authority, which we call confidence, right? Why you can't be confident? Because you always want to seek somebody or some authority to tell you what should be right. But is it really something there called right or wrong? So, back to the topic. We tend to seek an authority to tell us what should we do. Then, the way to turn inward stops. We have to be independent. Because I know my mind best. You know yours best. So today, let's look at mine together. You look at yours, I look at mine, to see why we are stressed, why you are stressed, why I'm stressed. When someone is stressed, the mind is no longer at peace. The mind is being disturbed in all kinds of subtle ways. Where does the stress come from? Just at the beginning of the session, after 3 minutes silence, we asked, how many moments are you truly present for the whole day? Which means that how many moments are you not bothered by thoughts? Have you ever noticed the relation between stress and thoughts? And your conscious or subconscious involvement in thoughts? Trapped in thoughts, trapped in the reactions to thoughts. Have you ever noticed that you want to identify yourself with some thoughts? The thoughts can be a lot of things, like your position, your title, what you are doing, your career, your professions. When you are anxious, have you ever noticed that you are reacting to some thoughts? So the thoughts breed fear. And anxiety is one form of fear, is it? So what are thoughts? What are thoughts? Thoughts are some symbols and mental images, are they? Symbols can be languages, mental images, all kinds seen on the mind. What's the essence of the thoughts? Aren't they the activities of the neuron paths? Right? There are so many neuron paths running in the head. So when neurons stop working, the thoughts disappear, is it? Have you ever noticed that how changeable you are. Compare you of today and you of 10 days ago. I guess probably some ideas you are holding now can be different from then. Probably you have different troubles. Today you are anxious about this, and 10 days you are anxious about something else. Have you ever noticed that? Thoughts are the consequence of the neural activities, which means that thoughts are illusions. And you are troubled by thoughts, by some illusions. That's what most people are going through. Thoughts are illusions, and people are still bothered by that. Isn't it ridiculous for each one of us? But have you ever noticed that it can be difficult to admit that thoughts are illusions? Because most people are educated in a way that thoughts are very important. You should have a dream. You should have an ideal. You should be something. You should be ambitious. People are told from youth that thoughts are important. They are told by an authority. But when we look at the mind, it's just the activity of neurons. It happens now, it disappears in a few minutes. It's illusion made up by the brain, and we are bothered by that. And we are holding onto the thoughts for the whole day to perpetuate the experience. Can be very pleasant ones, right? We always want to cling to some nice thoughts to give us pleasure. We also perpetuate some terrible ones, right? When you have been anxious for a few days because you are holding onto some thoughts which you are still reacting to. So up to now, I think probably you can also conclude a little bit. All the troubles come from thoughts. And thoughts are illusions. And we don't want to admit that thoughts are illusions because sometimes we also derive pleasure from thoughts to keep us stimulated. Look at the modern life. We have the internet, so much information, all kinds of nonsense level comments from different people. Have you ever noticed that? How much nonsense have you read each day from the internet? Have you ever noticed that those words or comments has such a very huge influence on you? So because internet, we are now much more connected from the outside forms. but we are also more isolated. Look at the chaos made by all kinds of chatterings. Look at what you do on the internet, right? Read news, read articles, or view videos, watch videos, or just see pictures, whatever. Have you ever noticed that? How many thoughts are triggered by? So the very process to understand thoughts are in any way unimportant psychologically is to meditate. It's meditation. Through your life's experience, can you realize how unimportant the thoughts are? It requires a huge amount of honesty, right? Because a lot of part of our life is built on thoughts. Like, no matter you are doing research or doing a job, you have the title, you have this kind of education experience, whatever. If you take that very seriously, actually you are taking something borders on illusion seriously, right? Your past experience, education, or title, it's a symbol. So it's a thought in a way, right? Oh, so to speak, it's very ego stuff. So to understand which part of life is made up of thoughts is to meditate. There's no any concrete forms of doing meditation to achieve that, but it's up to you to look at your life with true honesty. You don't need to deny it. Oh yeah, I have this title. It's too bad. That's not the way to look at it. Because you just condemn it. No, don't do that. Just say it, non-judgmentally. Don't say it's good. Don't say it's bad. But just realize, okay, part of my life relies on this part. Relies on being a professor, which is enhance my ego in a way or that. That's the way to observe. To understand how much your life is pure illusion requires a lot of courage and honesty. But that's the way to meditate. Thoughts are in any way unimportant, which does not you should give up all the thoughts. I didn't say that. I mean, deeply realize thoughts are unimportant at all. Then you will be in a different dimension when you are thinking. When you are thinking, when you realize that thoughts are unimportant, and do you still want to get trapped in thoughts? So before we continue the session, now it's time to meditate truly, physically. We just take the breath meditation. So in the next 10 minutes, to focus on the breath. Some of us might be very new to meditation. About this form. There can be many forms. It's all perfect for you to practice. But here, we just do the breath meditation. Why we are doing that? Focus on the breath. Why do we focus on breath? Breath is a sensation. It's not a thought. So during this 10-minute meditation, we focus on the breath, the sensation of it. At the same time, we notice what is going on the mind. Plus, when we breathe in, notice that we are breathing in. When we breathe out, notice that we are breathing out. And also notice the thought, because thoughts might get back to you and want to distract you. So what you need to do, actually, is just come back to breath, time and time again. Which means that you ignore the thoughts. Ignore means that don't care about it. Let it come. Let the thoughts come. Let that thought be. Let the thought go. Don't refuse thoughts. Don't accept thoughts. Just try your best to focus on the breath. Don't judge it. Don't justify it. Don't condemn it. Just try your best to focus on the sensation of breath. So I will play the audio guide so you can follow the guide, which can be helpful for some of us to focus on breath. And after the 10 minutes meditation, let's come back for another short discussion. Now, let's take a 10-minute meditation. Start by taking a moment to find a comfortable position to sit in a posture that you feel relaxed and get alert. Let hands rest on your knees or laps. Let the eyes close gently. Soften your forehead. Act a soft smile in the corner of your lips. Breathe naturally. As you breathe in, be aware that you are breathing in. Feel the sensation of breathing in. The region can be the nostrils, can be the belly, can be anywhere. Focus on the part you feel most. As you breathe out, be aware that you are breathing out. Feel the sensation of breathing out. The region can be the nostrils, can be the belly, can be anywhere. Focus on the part you feel most. Fix your attention on the breath. Let go of any thought, words, images. This moment, nothing is more important than breath. While you are listening to the bell, check where your attention is. If it wasn't on the breath, after the bell, gently invite your attention back to the breath and sustain your attention on the breath. slowly bring your awareness back to this room. Feel into your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes. When you are ready, open your eyes. I guess many of us might have noticed that how challenging to be free from thoughts. But I guess most of us must feel sort of peace and calm now, right? For the past 12 minutes, actually it's 12 minutes, we just consciously let go of the thoughts by focusing on the breath, with interacting with thoughts. And then your mind, my mind, the mind is begin to become quiet. Why the mind can be so busy? What is called busy? Isn't it because when the mind has been overactivated, which means that there are so many neuron paths are running at the same time. So the mind is super busy, super occupied. And the more you think about it, the more active, the busier the mind is. Right? It is very counterintuitive. The more you give thoughts in the hope to understand why you are busy, the mind is becoming busy. So, to understand the mind, there's no point of thinking at all. It's no use. Only when the mind is very quiet, and then you can observe the mind, which is not through thoughts, but through your awareness. You are aware of how the mind is running when your mind is super quiet. Like, if the mind is like a rough sea, very windy, so many waves. If you threw a stone into the water, you could feel nothing, because the sea is so ferocious that you couldn't see anything else. But if the mind is like a peaceful lake, you can notice any slight disturbance. So, to meditate, to observe the mind, to understand your life, you have to be very quiet. So, no matter what kind of trouble you are going through now, to understand it, you need to calm down first. Not playing with thoughts, but just immediately empty your consciousness, to calm down first. The very, very action to calm down, open the door to observe what is going on the mind. So when you are really quiet, mentally, there's a chance to be present. When you are able to be aware of all kinds of mental images you are holding on to, it can be an expectation. It can be an impression. It can be some view about other things. Live a life without those mental images is to be present. It's a life of meditation. But I guess you notice that how easy for one to pick up a thought, to pick up an image, right? It's super easy for one to have an expectation of something, to have an impression on something. So you have to inquire into this domain of thoughts to understand what is the boundary of the thoughts in your life. So this is a journey of turning inward. Just look within. Look within with a very quiet mind. To be quiet also. So this is the content of meditation from this perspective, from thoughts. And what is called meditation, you can give different names. You can call it Zen, Chan. You can call it Daoism, 老庄, 老子, 庄子. It's all about this. Walking out of thoughts, there's a new world waiting for you. That's the whole content of today's session. So, any questions or anything you want to speak, you can also speak here. Or if you have any question about meditation, you can also share your curiosity here. We can discuss it together.
Hey.
Oh, okay. Here's a question. So, why do we keep looking for reasons about our thoughts into a loop? I'm very happy that you observe that it is a loop. It's like a whirlpool, right? When we get into thoughts, thoughts follow thoughts. It's a fact. Because neuron paths is a loop. So on a very fundamental level, the neuron path is a loop. So the thoughts on a high level is also a loop. So we try to figure out why we are in thoughts. Like what you said, keep looking for reasons. Then we are just drawn into thoughts. To understand thoughts means that we are aware of it, not into it. But for many people, it sounds very intuitive to use thoughts to understand thoughts, but it is still in thoughts. So you see, this is the chaos of the thoughts, the chaos created by thoughts. And the very action to look for some reasons about the thoughts creates another chaos. Until we realize that, oh, come on, thoughts are purely some illusions, some neuron paths, loops in a subtle way, also loops in a ground way. So when you negate the importance of thoughts, then you walk out of the loops, which does not mean that you should not think. You can think, everybody thinks, right? No problem. But think that if you realize thoughts are illusions, why do I bother to be into thoughts? So it really requires each of us to observe the thoughts. We try to find the reasons. That's also a lot of things discussed in the psychology stuff. It only creates the confusion. Thoughts is something we should stay away from. Look at ourselves. How easy for us to pick up a thought. Like, oh, hey, guy, I will meet you tomorrow at 6 p.m. That very sentence give you an impression or an expectation. And if you take it seriously, next day, I didn't turn up, and you would be bothered by that. Look at the mind, it's so petty. It's so easy to be into thoughts. So, probably when you realize that, that's the very reason why thoughts are so horrible. And when you are free from thoughts, it's in a different dimension, and you can't think about that. And you can't think about that. If you think about that, it's another thought, which is different from the reality when you are free from thoughts. So that's why people still want to know what it's like to be mindful. But when you are mindful, you are free from thoughts. How can you use thoughts to think about something you are not in the thoughts? Right? So the way to live a life, the way to do meditation is to do it. Thoughts and actions are in two different loops. You can't really hold them two together. You have to choose one of them. You either go for actions, which is always present, or you go for thoughts, which is always the past, which is always a loop, which is always a quagmire, which is always a whirlpool. You can't really hold them two, because thoughts and actions are divisions. If you are holding them two together, which we call effort, because effort has an idea and you want to use action to approach that idea. That's why people make efforts and people suffer, because we want to hold thoughts and action together. which is impossible because it's a natural division. So we need to take action now. Just focus thoughts immediately, empty it. And then there's an instant effect on you, on everyone. To die to this moment. Can you do that? Die to this moment. I think I can also give a little further more information, but I have to admit that it is impossible to tell this stuff in one session because there are so many things we can discuss. But one thing I also want to share today is that please notice it. The past and the future is also a thought. If you think about the past, if you think about the future, it's not the future, it's not the past, it's your thoughts. You say, how easy to be in thoughts, right? Because you think about your past, maybe you plan tomorrow. You probably just think, oh, it's the true future, it's a true past. No, it's your thoughts. So I just want to give an example about the influence of thoughts in so many subtle ways. For the past, future, we can discuss in the future sessions because there's another big chapter dedicated to that about time. But I will just show that thoughts are everywhere. They are so subtle. You can't really recognize it wholly because thoughts has been your part of life in the subtle ways, which means that you also need to recognize it in a subtle way. So to be present means that you are really at the present, free from thoughts, past and future. Of course, I didn't say that you should not make plans. On this society, if you don't make plans, probably the rule can be against you. But think about future. Think about your plan. Think about your past. It's a thought. And of course, there are also many other small things you need to notice by yourself, little by little, piece by piece, which requires your immediate actions. Working out thoughts, calm down, and look back. Just be aware of it, observe it, non-judgmentally. I hope this answers your question to some extent. Thanks. So, before we finish today's session, I also want to invite you again to be quiet for another 3 minutes. Even we have this discussion about the mind, your neurons, my neurons have also been activated. So let's calm down again so we can live here with peace and calm. All right. Thank you for everybody. Thank you everybody tonight for being here to spend the last 1 hour sitting together, looking within, to understand our mind a little bit. So, as we said before, it requires all of us to give the attention to the mind, to understand the mind in a subtle but also in a very peaceful way. When one is truly from thoughts, there's a joy you could not imagine waiting for you. Pleasance always comes from thoughts, but joy never. I hope this session might give you some light to reflect later, and more importantly, stay calm and peace. No matter what kind of challenges you are going through, always calm down first. Walking out of thoughts consciously, emptying your mind consciously. And we also have the content available on YouTube channel. So this session has been recorded there as well. So if you want to watch the playback, you can just check on YouTube channel. At the same time, we also record the audio of this full session. So you can also check it out from the podcast, like the Spotify or Apple or Google, whatever. And if you can speak Chinese, we also provide content in Chinese. You can look for Mindiverse in WeChat. So we have this daily update there about the mind stuff in Chinese. So anyway, this is a journey of yourself. I hope everybody good luck with it, and stay peace with yourself and stay peace with the whole world. Thank you again, and hopefully see you in the future sessions. Bye-bye.